All right, welcome back to another episode of Shots and Shanks. I am one of your hosts, Kyle,
Merrick?
and we're ready to kick things off. I suppose first we'll start with our shot, since it is Shots and Shanks after all.
True.
Before we dive into any topics for today, now
Yeah, now tell them what we got for today.
this is gonna be rough, dude, and it's not even like.
I mean, I've done it a few times, so
Oh, I have too. The worst is on an empty stomach. That is by
yeah.
far the
I mean,
worst.
it's acidic, so
Yeah.
it could cause
Uh,
problems.
some people that may be watching this may have already guessed since you said the acidic part, but got some good old apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of health benefits supposedly.
Yeah, antibacterial, antifungal, and it also helps the stomach build up acid for digestion. But that's
Which is
just what studies show.
right. Which that's probably why it's better to not have on an empty stomach. Like I don't know that you need your stomach riling up its juices too frothy and what have you if there's nothing there to be
Yeah,
digested.
there could be some heartburn in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But all right, and you can all laugh at me, but I've got myself a little chaser here, and I decided my chaser, you know, keep it shot format, going Super Trooper style with this. Got a little 100% organic Kirky Sig maple syrup.
Yeah, I'm not joining you on that one.
This will be funny. All right, buddy. Well, here goes the apple cider vinegar first for sure. And
Cheers.
cheers to you. Cheers to the viewers. A little. Make sure you heard that. Woo! Oh, I forgot how that is.
That is pungent, bro. Ooh.
It's kind of like it's like sucking on a foot. I would imagine. I don't know. I'm not a foot sucker.
Yeah, isn't it not safe?
Did I just out myself? No.
All right, let's see how this one is.
Oh, that is much more pleasant.
Yeah. Right,
Oh, that was
good.
way easier.
Good.
Yeah, that was like, it was like a bite of delicious pancake without the mush.
Did the vinegar linger around after or no?
No, actually, that kind of killed it. Honestly, that's pretty good. Like, I feel the vinegar here now. Down
Yeah.
in the chest.
Yeah, I'm happy for you because the vinegar is definitely just lingering around for me.
I mean, hey, you got a little.
I took a sip of Monster.
I was
This
gonna
one's
say, you
like
got
the
some
strawberry
adult bubbly
one.
water, don't you? You could swig some of that.
Yeah, well, I took a sip of this strawberry Monster and it, just nothing.
Strawberry?
Like I got a little bit of strawberry and then full vinegar just right back after it.
Strawberry was like, isn't that pleasant? Just kidding. Vinegar once more. Well, just wait till you burp later.
Oh, and yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Mhm.
Well, speaking of monsters, it's kind of funny because I forget about it sometimes, but then I get to laugh when I see like recurring horror movies that pop up that are like holiday themed because of like Krampus and things
Yeah,
of that
Krampus,
nature.
yeah.
Like, and that stuff always cracks me up. And we're getting super close to the holidays. I mean, like literally right around the corner. I mean, just a matter of days for some folks. Or already started
Yeah,
for others, I guess, right?
yeah, this should come out on Monday, and then Christmas will be on Wednesday. I know Yule started yesterday.
I always forget
I think
Hanukkah.
Christmas and Hanukkah are on the same day this year. I heard
Oh,
that on the radio, so don't quote me on that. But
is Hanukkah one of those like like the third Thursday of December where like it's not a set date?
yeah, I couldn't tell you specifically, but it's not a set date.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I just know that, some holidays rock that way and other
Yeah, I
ones
don't
are
want to
like,
quote anything on that because I don't know enough about it. But
no, that's fair. I wouldn't
I
I
did
wouldn't
hear on
either.
the radio that it was Christmas Hanukkah the same day.
Okay. Interesting. I have no idea. Well, that's why, festive sweaters. I'm rocking can you
Mike
see that?
Tyson,
Yeah. Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't have mistletoe and like two pigeons. Now Kith.
Yeah, well, beat us up, Mike.
Don't beat us up, Mike. We love you. No, honestly,
Rocking the Slayer, Santa's metal side.
heck yeah. Heck yeah. Slayer. It's so weird too with the the holidays. Like I'm from New England originally. I'm used to like the old songs of the holidays and whatnot. I'm used to usually having like a white Christmas or just
Hmm.
snow around this time. And being down here in Texas, that's not really all that common.
So no chestnuts roasting on an open fire over there?
You could do that, I suppose, for sure. I mean, nobody's gonna. There's probably lots of open fires. I think
Just
bonfires are pretty regular
just
out
not
here.
with just not with snow on the ground.
Yeah, no, there won't be much snow. You can get a frost for sure, like, um, and it's definitely there'll be ice. Like I've seen snow. There's been some snow, but it's not anything like back home, and there's definitely none right now. And I don't know that the forecast is showing that any will be coming anytime soon either. So
Yeah, I feel you in that. I mean, spending a lot of my life in Illinois where we would get even blizzards a few years and knocking out power for several days and storing your Thanksgiving leftovers out in the snow because the power's out and your fridge ain't working kind of thing. And now here in Northern California, like we're not seeing anything hardly under 50 degrees except for early in the morning. So,
yeah, I know what you mean. Like you used to you run out of room in the fridge, you just keep the beer outside on the deck or whatever, or on the
yeah,
porch or something. Yeah,
yeah,
it'd be just as cold if like sometimes you have to be careful it didn't freeze.
yeah.
Yeah, no, those were good times. Well, and then it just makes me miss well, with where we met. I miss Europe, man. Like being out in Italy, dude. As soon as the season hit, like, I mean, even like September, October, depending on how the season was going, sometimes in certain places you could find powder already. And then you had those awesome spots where I mean, I never made my way there, unfortunately, but those places that would keep some powder or keep some good snow till springtime, you'd have people like skiing around in bathing suits and stuff because it was hot outside. You
Yeah.
just would like get a little cool if you fell in the snow.
Yeah, that was so where all we go? We had Piancavallo was like a good 45 minutes, right? Not very far.
Yeah, I never made it there, honestly. Weirdly enough, I always went further out, but that was the one that was right near the
Yeah,
base, and I think they
I
had some
mean,
of the
it
spring.
was just a good place to go if you wanted to somewhere nearby and then just to knock out a couple hours because
Yeah,
they were short and easy slopes over there.
what do they call that? Like maybe like a step above, but kind of similar, like bunny slopes, like
Yeah,
people learn on kind of deal.
yeah, pretty much. And then we had Nosfelt was a couple hours and it was just over the border.
Yeah, Nosfeld was Austria, I believe, and I want to say 3 hours, maybe
Yeah, something like that.
something like that. Yeah, and then there was the glacier,
It's
uh,
Dubai. It's Dubai
Dubai.
Glacier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, the memories of those places. Like what Nosfeld was the one I think where we found a ski lodge, ended up meeting the people, like making decent friends at least that night. We got some
Yeah.
free drinks out of it. Meeting the folks that were running that little I don't know if you'd call it like a lodge, but it was definitely a ski stay or something that was maybe 20
Yeah.
minutes from the mountain.
Where'd we go? So they had their own kind of like lodge, but they were chilling in like their own bar downstairs, right?
Yeah, it was they had these little cottage buildings that had, rooms situated in them like it was a European Airbnb, honestly.
Yeah.
Um and then you went downstairs outside and you just crossed like a little sidewalk pathway or whatever, or like maybe cut through the parking lot, and they had a whole different building that had a bar in it, and like I want to say they had seating and whatnot that looked like they could have hosted events or had like a restaurant maybe, but I think when we had gone in there, it was already like past the kitchen close time or whatever.
Yeah. Man, that was
But I
fun.
do,
Were you with us the time when we went there and it was like you said, basically a B&B and this older woman and her daughter met us to give us the key to the place? Maybe that's the first time that I went there.
so I remember that time was just you and I. I remember your wife had stayed back. I don't recall why, but it was just a guys trip. It was just you and I getting away to go, and that's when we met the people from Czech, and um and I remember that night specifically because we got some free drinks, and then we made that stupid video where I was doing like the little
Oh,
jazz trumpet or whatever with my
yeah,
mouth, and you were wiggling
yeah,
your eyebrows to it, and we just
yeah.
thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And the people behind the bar were just looking at us like, "What is going on?"
It was that. That was
Yeah,
that night. That was the funniest thing in the world
it
for sure.
really was. Yeah, and that you had to be there, folks.
No, but what I'm
But
talking about is more so like the hospitality of the people over there, and especially in Austria. But
mhm.
we had booked a place to stay. It was, I'm assuming, their second or even guest house, and an older woman and her daughter met us to give us the key, show us around the place, and then she was like, "Also, I'm gonna make dinner tonight, and I'll bring it by later." And then she was like, "But before I go," she's like, "Do you guys want any schnapps? Like, we'll take a shot of schnapps." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And and it's not like the shit we're used to, right? Like
Oh,
I took it, I was like, "Oh, that's not." It was like fuel. But yeah,
it's like the
it was
digestive
so cool.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was so cool. Like just experiencing like how hospitable they are.
Is it? I'm trying to remember what it was called. Was it similar to like what's the Italian one? Was it grappa?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
Was it
grappa
similar to that?
without any flavor
Really, like so it didn't
and
even have the
strong.
menthol.
Yeah, like fuel.
So she's basically like, you want some Austrian moonshine?
Yeah, that's it probably was. It probably was.
No, that's awesome though.
I
That's
think
really
she
cool.
just compared it to a pleasant thing.
You know what's it's funny though, that you say that because I have heard things about the hospitality. I mean, obviously I've experienced it, right? Well, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
right.
that I can't speak firsthand to the hospitality of the Europeans, but um I remember someone talking about it on a podcast. I can't recall which one it was, but they were saying that they basically were speaking with one of their friends who comes from, I don't know if it was Poland or Israel or somewhere, but they came from somewhere over there, and these people were just full of life, and like they lived here in America, but they were full of life. They would always have parties. They were drinking and partying and just jovial people, and not to excess, but they just always were in good spirits and always like ready to just have fun. And he's like, how do how do you do it? Like, how are you like this all the time? How does life not stress you out or whatever? And they're like, no, it's not a matter of life not stressing us out, but like when you grow up where we grew up and like you're used to knowing that at any point in time, like the neighbors might decide to, no longer respect the neighborly ways and just cross a border and try to take over or whatever, because they were there for, like ancestrally, they were there for World War One, World War Two, like all that stuff. And Europe has constantly had moving borders and whatnot for the probably greater part of the history of their existence. And so it's just an interesting perspective. Like, when life is always potentially at risk of being taken at any moment, then you learn to like enjoy every moment of every day or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like pretty cool. Like that's kind
Yeah, that's kind
of
of well put because like when you were talking about how in good spirits they truly are like, and not to say that we don't have any people that are the same way here in the US, but it's definitely rare to see
hmm
because people take their everyday jobs and the amount of stress and pressure that they have, and it kind of just bleeds into their off life or their hobbies, and when they're just trying to have relief, and you can see it. You can see people kind of just not having as much fun as they really could in the moment.
Yeah, well, I think it's also, a large factor is we take a lot of things for granted probably when you like if you really want to get to the root of it, it's probably a lot of things taken for granted just because you can argue, yeah, sure, people in Europe have it relatively the same as we do here as far as luxury and whatnot. Like, they're not a lot, like not as many people as used to be or whatever are going without and left wanting. But we don't know conflict like they do. We've never experienced that. Like, at least in more recent times. Like, yeah, America was founded by revolution or whatever, but that's not, I mean, the 1940s and then even other places like, you look at Korea, what was that, like the 50s or something? And then Vietnam was like the 60s, 70s or whatever. It's like that's all
70s.
pretty recent and whatnot. And like we don't know conflict like that. We've never had enemies knocking at our door and then proceeding their way through by force if we don't answer politely. Like we've never experienced that. So I think we take a lot of things for granted, but that's still in us. Like that's still naturally biologically ingrained in us. Those like natural fight or flight fear responses or whatever. So, but we don't have the real life threats that used to apply to us anymore, be it natural disaster, animals that want to kill us, not having shelter for the night during a storm or whatever. Like these are all fears that I think we have kind of like a biologically ingrained, innate response to. But now that response is applied to like, oh, I didn't get Sergeant so-and-so this email by the end of the week when I was supposed to, but we still have the same reactionary response to that of, oh shit, there's a mountain lion across the river while I'm getting water. I hope it doesn't jump over here and gut me. You know what I mean? Like you put the same amount of fear and like reaction to it, but it's not the same detrimental outcome if things go poorly. But like we can't separate that emotionally, mentally, or whatever. You know what I mean? Am I making sense?
We can think about it a little differently too, because obviously we know our country more,
Right.
but we can break it down generationally. And when you look at each generation, what they've experienced that has led them to kind of feel that way, or what they've experienced that changes their life. When you have like boomers post-war, but also a few wars in that generation, and then X,
Yep.
millennials, Z's what was Z's biggest experience? COVID, something like that.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Honestly, I forget like what they're all labeled at. I remember being insulted finding out that I was a millennial because millennials were getting dogged so much, and it's like I was just at like the ass end of millennial. I'm like,
Yeah,
damn it!
it's always what like current generation there is, right? Until the generation's old enough to where they can start blaming them, like.
Right. Well, you always blame the new guy, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they're old enough to like actually be making decisions and a difference in the society.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
But like, there's also like, so I took this little acquisition course, and it was talking about understanding the different generations, and it's really interesting when you think about it that way, because every generation is basically setting up 1 to 2 generations in the future for change making. And so you can honestly sort of blame X and millennials for the way that Gen Z operates, because it used to be back in the day with boomers and X was live to work, right? And now you're seeing a difference in the mentality of work to live. Right? Do you understand like how I'm putting that?
yeah.
Live to work,
Well,
like it was your responsibility in society back in boomers and X to work, to be productive. You didn't retire until
right, like be a
much
productive
later in
member of
life.
society to fulfill your life, kind of deal.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you were a productive member of society. You didn't retire until much later in life. And now you're seeing a generation that's kind of like, well, why would I do that when I can do this?
Right. Which I don't necessarily think that either mentality is wrong, but I do think that there has been a problem with the outlook of like you get out what you put in, because that's not true anymore. Like,
Right.
I mean, even if you wanted to look at it from just a simple financial aspect, like, okay, I get out what I put in, sure, but when inflation keeps rising and my salary isn't going up with it, and I'm still putting the same amount of money in, like I'm not getting out what I'm putting in anymore. So, like, make it make sense, bro. So, like, that's the biggest argument that I can't stand. Really, is just like you can't get out what you put anymore unless you find a loophole, take advantage of people, come from a place of influence, or are willing to accept the fact that like it's not going to be what it should be, but you'll get by,
Right. And something that I feel most of the Europeans that I've met were that did pretty well, they learned at an early age was to make the most out of every dollar that they had, right? Because
Mhm.
most of them, when we say we're living paycheck to paycheck in the U.S., it's like kind of like, yeah, you've got your necessities and then you binge basically the rest of your money.
Oh well, they're still getting Starbucks and they're still buying,
Yeah, right.
their
And
whatever,
then
this and
like
that, and
they are, I just feel like they are way more efficient at making every dollar count. And that's why there's such little stress too.
Well, I think they're also, I think they also kind of like they take pride in and uh like they're not bothered by their own personal labor being needed for like things to be accomplished, and that could be either like an actual manual task, or I'm thinking even more so like cooking and eating and stuff. Like they take pride in that. Like that's like I don't know. There's like a weird mentality that's almost happened here in some aspects of America, and I don't want this to come across wrong because it's not everywhere and not everyone. But like I feel like there's kind of been some shift in mentality where it's like, um, I'm just gonna say it like the stay-at-home mom role or something like that, right?
Hmm.
Like being the provider for the household, and it's like, oh well, I mean, that's so lowly of me to be expected to be the person like slaving away in the kitchen and making the food and whatnot. And it's like, but why can't that also just be like a point of pride? Like if I had the time to do that and I had people that I cared about and loved and wanted to like provide for them, I would take pride in like having that time to cook for them. Like that's one of the most. I mean, in a weird. I don't mean to like. It's just gonna maybe sound weird, but that's kind of like one of the most like loving and intimate things you could do for somebody is to provide like a healthy, nourishing, fulfilling meal made with like love and care. You know what I mean? Like that should be
Yeah.
a point of pride.
Well, I think, yeah, you could look at it on the feministic side that that's just kind of put into a negative light that, yeah,
Mm,
this is your role and you're stuck to this role.
right.
But I think where the mentality really shifted was when one salary didn't make enough to survive anymore, and then you had both
Yeah.
spouses having to work, and then when that spouse is put through the same stress of working a regular job as the other one, and then expected to go home and do, because the old mentality was still there. That's your role.
Yeah.
That's where I think the negative light really came into. And honest, the
And
way that it should work is, both have jobs and then you kind of split those
yeah.
responsibilities. So,
And that's not unfair, honestly, because it's a very unbalanced scale if someone is now taking on equal responsibility of the other party in one area of life, and then the other person's not willing to split some of the responsibility in that other area to like ease the burden. Like totally reasonable in my opinion.
mhm.
But yeah, I just think that I don't know, they take more pride in that, and like their food is more natural, like their bread, it'll go bad by like the end of the week if you don't use it, which is also why I think they can eat all the bread and pot. Like, did you remember
Yeah.
going and getting lunch and you'd see those motherfuckers leaving with like 3 plates of pasta and like a side and like a fish side or whatever, and then a salad, and then when they were all done, they'd go get some gelato, and then they'd like hop on their bicycle and ride back to
Nap.
work or whatever. And you're like, dude, how are you riding? How do you have an 8 pack and your calves are like as big as my biceps, and you're over here like stuffing your face with all this pasta and bread and whatever else? And it's like, because it's natural, because it's like
Yeah.
all natural. It doesn't
You
have all
remember
the
the lunch is
preservative.
long enough? And we're talking about Italy,
Yeah,
by the way.
sorry. Yeah,
But you remember the lunch is long enough to where they can go grab like a quick bite, take a nap, and then like grab a little espresso on their way back to work?
yeah, and maybe an Aperol or whatever, or
Yeah.
a spritz.
Yeah, the
That's what it was,
spritz.
the
Yeah.
spritz,
Yeah.
right, with the Aperol.
Hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't uncommon for someone to go grab lunch, have maybe a glass or two of wine, catch like 30 minutes of shut eye, and then show back up at work.
Yeah. What was it called?
Honestly,
Siesta,
though,
right? Siesta.
yeah, but they were I would be I think there's an argument to be made there that they were a happier people for it, so they might be onto something.
Yeah, because they've said science, on a biological, um, like the biological research aspect of it is that our bodies kind of revolve around having that midday nap.
Really?
Like it's
Like our
healthier to
circadian rhythm?
our yeah, it's healthier to our rhythm. And then we've
Huh.
just been such a booming productive society, and this is pretty much the case everywhere now. It's not even limited to America, but yeah, we've put ourselves into ignoring that and adapting to just the regular 8 hours sleep cycle.
No way. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, that actually kind of ties into something that I remember hearing a long time ago about um, sleeping at night. Even that people back in the day, like it got dark, so they would get tired, go to bed, but then they might wake up in the middle of the night, like 3-4 hours later, and oftentimes they would get up, they might light a candle, and like they'd write some notes or like contemplate some things or read a little something or
Mhm.
whatever, and be up for like an hour or two, and then they like get drowsy again or whatever, and blow the candle out, get back in bed, sleep for another like 3-4 hours, and get up with the sun. And so that's interesting that you say that. Like, I wonder if we kind of always were maybe supposed to take like segmented, like what we would consider like extended nap sessions instead, or like shorter sleep sessions instead of our longer like overnight once session.
Yeah, and even further on it, there's actually research that everybody biologically works on a different cycle too. So like the word night owl is actually a real thing amongst a lot of people. So
I think that is me.
and this is beyond behavioral too, right? Everybody has like behavioral tendencies, like you want to sleep till noon or whatever.
Right.
But it's true that some people operate at their most efficient phase if they're either early birds or night owls, and they're actually able to accommodate that
And don't they
within
think that
their
was like
everyday life.
potentially tied to like ancestral roles, where it used to be like entire families would hold the same role, and you might be like genetically linked to a family that was like the night watchman of the tribe or
Yeah,
something
I
like
don't
that?
know. That's beyond like anything I've heard, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard that about like, shit, we both got beards, man. I've heard that about beards. That supposedly people that can grow bigger beards, they may have come from like a warrior class family, because warriors tended to grow beards because it actually like helped with combat, because it could like soften blows or whatever. Like it actually does soften the impact by like some degree and offer some form of protection.
Yeah, that or genetics. One of them's got to do it, right?
I mean, well, it's definitely genetics, but they wonder if like the genetics kind of passed down, like they found that was a benefit. And then, like I said, like the son takes on the same role as the father, like warrior is a warrior and blah, blah, blah. So like it is genetics, but then genetics passing along in that same like career line, if you will, or something like that, because they're drawn towards that because of their genetics, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Warrior is definitely a much different term these days, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
so it could make sense, right? There's like there's definitely that margin of people that can't grow a single hair or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Could also be the same person that's placed into combat. So I don't know if
No, no,
maybe
no, for sure.
right,
Yeah, no, I'm talking ancient times. You know what I
right,
mean? But well,
right,
yeah,
right. But what I'm getting at is that like our methods of war are much different than they were
100%.
back then. So
Yeah.
there's literally no like intermental necessity to grow the hair.
Right, right, right,
So I'm just looking at it as if what you were saying was true, right?
right.
And that
No,
why
I feel
the
you.
same class of
It's
warriors that we
also a
have
funny
today
argument
don't do it.
too, because like you could also say, oh, but what about like feudal Japan? Like I've never seen a Japanese or Asian individual that grows a beard in the same fashion like this. Like, usually it's like longer and like straighter,
Yeah.
or it's just like coming straight out or whatever. Like most of them that I've ever known don't like to grow it because it won't grow like this or whatever. But they'll fuck your ass up back in feudal Japan. Those samurais were no joke. Those
Yeah.
were dead
Dude,
ass
I don't
warriors, like to the
yeah,
bone.
some of the and maybe it's just the way the shows are portraying it. Like I don't know, maybe we have like some drawings, and stuff or
Mhm.
pictures. But like the styles were super like unique too, right? Like with like the ponytails and like shaved sides, or they had like just a goatee that was super long, or just
Yeah.
a like a pencil stash.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just seemed all like super unique.
They definitely, yeah, they did. Or like they'd have like the top knot back here, and then like some hair here, and like a circle shaved out in the middle or
Yeah,
something. Like, yeah, no, I know it was all. It's so crazy to think about too. Is like, how did they start that? Like, they had to figure out shaving with like seashells and stuff, and like get people to do like these intricate little like that must have been gnarly to pull off.
yeah, and that's just all like if what we're portrayed is like how it really was, right?
Right? Yeah. Like, I mean, I would like to think so. I'd like to think that what they claim is historically accurate art was actually
That's
like
why
meant to
I
be
really
so.
like watching those tech videos. You know how it's like every subject is different. Like you can have mortician guy can go on there and be like, "This is morgue support," or like, and they'll answer questions that people like legitimately have on the topics.
Oh yes, I
Like I
have seen
wonder
those.
if there was it might be out there, but there could be like a historian that focused on like ancient Japan and
Mm,
like could answer those questions and like maybe watch like snippets of the shows that we're talking about and be like, yeah, well, that's somewhat accurate or not at all.
probably. I mean, you're talking about the ones where like I think I saw one where somebody had wrote a question. I'm trying to remember who does those.
I think it's called tech support, and then who depending on what category or subject they're on, they'll change
Right. I
it.
just can't remember what channel it was, or like I thought it was a magazine or like a channel like Wired. Is it Wired that does it? Maybe Wired
I'm
magazine.
not 100%.
Yeah. Either way, whatever. I thought I knew what it was. It doesn't matter. But I saw one where it was a guy. He was a pirate historian, and they were like, "Did pirates really talk like that? Like, our matey,
That was
blah blah blah."
interesting how he explained that. I did see that one.
Yeah, he's like, no, that was
And
from the Disney movie Treasure Island. He just
yeah,
like put a weird accent on his normal Scottish voice, and like it just took off. And because he was a prominent actor and well respected, they were like, yeah, he probably knows what pirates sound like.
yeah,
They're like,
that
that
was
must be
so
what they sound
interesting.
like.
Yeah, because the answer that he gave is basically no, not at all. That's not how
Right?
pirates
He's
used to
like, no,
talk.
they all sounded different because they were from all over the place and they spoke
Yeah,
different languages and had different accents. Like there was no pirate language.
yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Man, that was such a good one too because they really talked about like how people got into being a pirate and the lives that they lived like was how freaking difficult it was, like almost the life expectancy or when they would be ultimately captured because it was almost a guarantee.
Right. Yeah, like what? Most of them didn't make it past like 28 or 30 or something like
Yeah,
that,
it was
right?
something super low, and then
It might have even been 24.
you constantly had like the UK's navy and like all these other countries' navies like hunting them down.
And then also, like, you were the captain of a ship, and depending on how things went, you always had to worry about someone trying to take your spot because, like, there's only one way to be number one.
Yeah, I mean depending on the plunder, because some of them like had pretty pretty nice plunders on their ship,
Yeah. Show me the booty.
and that's where the that's where like the whole like pirates drink a bunch of rum thing came around because they would steal from
They
like
were
all
always stealing
the
merchant vessels,
shipments.
yeah.
Yeah,
So actually, that was a funny thing that he talked about too. He's like, the myths of like all the gold and jewels and stuff. Like, yeah, sometimes they snag some of that. He's like, but a lot of pirate vessels had like linens and liquor and like food store and stuff because it was a lot of like supply ships that were like
hmm
running stuff back and forth that ended up getting raided. There weren't, you didn't have a ton of merchant ships shipping around like the whole bank's vault to some new location or something. So that was kind of interesting to find out. But yeah, the accent part was crazy to me, especially because like, well, I mean, I like messing with accents all the time, and we like troll people with accents all the time online when we're gaming
yeah,
and whatnot. So like the just hearing stuff about accents and like how that developed and why and whatnot, that was really interesting.
yeah. No, for sure. Like it's really fun to and maybe it's a kind of a troll thing or maybe it's just
I mean, it's lighthearted trolling. Like it's
trying to humor somebody's night or whatever, but we can go
yeah,
on
yeah,
there
it's never with
easily
malice,
and like start a conversation normally and then all of a sudden out of the blue is like, oh right out he's right outside right now. And then, and then like somebody be like, wait, what? Like,
Usually people are like, wait, hold on, are you Australian? Like,
yeah. Like, didn't you just hear me talk like 5 minutes ago?
and then usually like if it's you and me and maybe like it can't be more than like one or two other people because then because at least for what I'm going to reference because like you'll sometimes get the time where like you start doing the accent and then that person will have a friend with them and the friend would be like no they were just talking regular like 3 minutes ago or whatever
Yeah.
and they're like who was and it's like then they're trying to look and see like whose name is popping up when you're talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Me,
uh
like, I guess probably the best I can do would be the Aussie, but your arsenal is insane, man. Like, you almost like can just one of those guys that can hear something and then just kind of like a mockingbird,
Are
because
you
you'll
talking
like
about those
really
birds
throw
that
them
like
off. I might be like that little bit of bait out there to where like subconsciously they're hearing it, and then like a minute later they're like, wait, did I actually hear that? Did that just happen? Like, was there something else happening
it's
there?
like
And then you could just like blast you like three different ones, and then they're like,
there's no way you're not picking up the fact that I'm talking like this now.
yeah,
And they're like, wait, what? And then they're like, were you just talking different? No, you're seriously fucked in the head, mate. I've been talking like this the whole time. just to troll them.
I love
Oh,
that
it's
stuff.
so
Hey,
good.
that makes so many nights too, and that's like the best part of it.
Honestly, yeah, a few drinks and some just messing with well it's so annoying now too with like the chat ban AI like
Oh
they just
yeah,
ban everybody for everything. It's ridiculous. I'm surprised they're probably banning me because they're like that's not his real accent, that's insulting.
yeah, yeah. He's mocking somebody.
They probably get really mad if I do like the Uncle Roger one most of all, like that's probably what ticks them off the most, although we did have a lot of fun with our friend that one night with it.
Yeah, that was fun. How did that come about? She was in the hospital, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, she had to go to the ER for some obviously medical stuff. That's what you go there for.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not
You
going to
don't
get
go
into
there
her
for like
business. But
hair appointments or anything.
not usually. I've never heard of that. I don't think the ER is dishing out mani pedis that people are raving about. Like, I'm going to the ER for a perm. A
I go
perm
there
what? A
for
permanent change.
specifically go there for my gift shopping.
Right? Gift shopping. I love hospital food and the little trinkets they have in the gift shop.
Oh man, no, no, no.
Oh
But yeah,
god.
leading on. Yeah, she was in the hospital. We were actively gaming, and I think we had probably already like gotten into some of that trolling, if you
Yeah, we
call
were
it.
just messing
Yeah,
around and she hopped on Discord so she could talk to us through her phone just bored. And I ended up streaming so she could watch along and talk crap to us, of course. Um yeah, but I'm trying to remember exactly how it started. Oh, that's what it was. Um she said it's because she started by telling us to mind our P's and Q's. And then of course,
oh, that doesn't work.
because of course I am who I am. I was fucking with. She's like, my nurse can hear you guys, so mind your P's and Q's. And I was like, what? Don't say penis and queers. she was like, damn it, Kyle. And I'm just laughing in the background. I'm like, I'm sorry, nurse. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. And her nurse starts laughing and it's like, no, it's fine. She's like, wait, what are they saying? And she ended up getting into it. Like she wanted to hear all we had to say. We were just talking shit.
Yeah,
She ended up liking it.
it was hilarious. How did the accent come about though? I don't remember. Did she tell us that she was an Asian nurse, or
That's exactly what it was, but I can't remember why. She said, "Oh, I think
maybe
it
you
was
were already doing the accent before she walked in there or something?
I don't
Or
think
you
that's
just
what it was
randomly did
actually.
it? I think
No, no,
you
no, because I remember because I used the accent to test what kind of Asian she was."
right. Okay.
Because she I think we were just asking like what her nurse looked like. I think we were just messing with her, like, oh, what does she look like? Like, send a pic to the chat, like just trolling her. And and I think she was like, "Oh, she's cute. I think she's Asian." And her nurse was like, "Yeah, I am." And I was like, "Oh, but are you like real Asian or like Pacific Islander or something? But like you say you're Asian, or like are you like Filipino or something?" Or and she's like, "No, I'm real Asian." And I was like, "Oh, like fresh off the boat." And she was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "You said you're really Asian. How Asian are you?" And at one point, I can't remember. Oh, it was because I started saying like, um, I said, "Don't fuck with me, little girl. I put out the bok choy for your fuck boy." And she started saying some shit that I was like sounding like her uncle, and that she
Yeah,
couldn't speak the
no harm
language.
done, by the way. She was cracking up the entire time.
Oh yeah, no, she was feeding
Oh
it, dude. She
man,
was like
yeah,
giving me more stuff to respond to.
yeah. It was like questions like, if you had a misbehaving child, like what would you use to discipline said child, kind of stuff.
That's wild.
I lost your video, I think.
Oh no. Yeah, it suddenly says that my camera is being used by something else, but there's nothing else to be using my camera.
Did something else pop up? Like any pop-ups or programs start?
No, that's what's confusing to me right now. Hmm. All right. A little bit of a technical difficulty there. I don't know what happened, man. Like nothing even opened on my computer. It suddenly said my camera
Yeah, just stole your
wasn't
camera
available.
right after
Yeah,
the music.
I'm used to shanking it on the golf course, not on the computer. Like that was a show shank right there.
That's kind of that's a good topic too, because Shots and Shanks. We haven't really mentioned golf. When did you get into golf?
Oh, geez. I started as a kid. Unfortunately, did not keep it up though. Which now that I'm an adult and enjoy it, I wish I had. But my dad got me into it a little bit when I was a kid. Took some lessons and whatnot. So I did that for maybe about I don't know, like 2 years or something, perhaps for like when I was 12 or so, maybe around that time, I would say. And then yeah, just maybe played all of a handful of times since then until about when I got to Texas in like April of 22. Shortly thereafter, I decided golf was going to be one of the hobbies I wanted to get into to like keep me active and get exercise and be outside and whatnot. So picked it up shortly after that. So I guess now I'm going on 3 years, and I feel like I still suck pretty good. And by that I
Yeah,
mean I still
that's
don't
how it
I still
happens.
don't play good golf.
I mean, you've definitely had your highlights, and I've seen them. But would you say that when you were a kid, that your swing was like as shallow as it is now?
I'm positive it wouldn't have been because I mean there wouldn't have been any reason. I'm sure nobody would have taught me to do it that way. And also just being a kid, I probably would have been like, I'm getting everything out of this.
I feel
You
like that's a buzzword for like most of the amateur golfers, at least the ones that like pay attention to like what like technical aspects of the swing are good, and like yours is like extremely shallow and not
Mhm.
like a huge swing, like a maybe a shorter backswing, but like super shallow, and that's like one of the buzzwords everybody looks for, like how do I make my swing shallow kind of thing.
No, it's true though. I do have a very small backswing, but it's the way that I can try and keep the head in the slot.
Yeah.
Also, just a little aside, and hopefully other golfers out there will know and get a chuckle out of this too. Golf is one of the wildest things to talk about and be heard out of context,
Right.
just
I know what
because
you're
of
talking about.
the actual
Yeah.
terminology for things. Like
Get a ball on the
yeah,
green and be like, oh, please put that inside me. Like,
yeah,
like,
right. Please, yeah, or
are you scrambling with somebody?
yeah, or I don't know. Yeah, I had to take my shaft to the shop the other day so they could work it and try and fix my head because it just wasn't sitting right. Like it's like what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, the grip on my shaft.
yeah, right.
Yeah. And the distance from the grip on my shaft to the head.
Yeah, it's just funny stuff, and and we always find other ways to just troll each other out there with it. So That's
Yeah,
always a good time.
100%.
Golf is great, man. Like I do really like it too because as long as I mean I've had my times where I want to just play by myself, but um if you're willing to like sacrifice your own like solitude, if you will, being out on a course, like it is such a social sport. Like it's so easy to just to like meet a stranger, and by the end of 18 holes, like you're exchanging numbers, and then they're coming over for a barbecue in 2 weeks or something. You know what I mean? Like like it's so easy to just like make a new friend. I mean, granted, you're stuck with somebody for a good probably 4 hours or so. So
Yeah, I've made some pretty good friends just getting randomly paired up.
same,
Obviously,
man.
tons of people that like I wish that I didn't play with ever, but
I've been lucky in
that
that
small like
sense.
10-15 percentage is like
Mm.
has wound up being like pretty close friends.
I've definitely been lucky in that regard. I've maybe met like I could count on one hand the number of people that I've been stuck with that I would rather not. And even then, it's just preference, not really that like it was ruining my day. It's just it would have been better if they weren't around.
Yeah,
Um, but I've been lucky otherwise, and most of the time it's either just like a cool person and you just part ways, or a, a, a majority of the time they end up being cool, and I'm like, oh, you should at least like join the Facebook group that I'm in for the other like the way that I met other golfers and whatnot. Like you can meet other people that way or something, or hit me up because like I tell people all the time I'm trying to get out as often as I can, as often as my time, excuse me, as my time and my body will allow, and so I'll always take another invite to go golf. Worst case scenario is I have to say no, but don't stop inviting me.
right. Yeah. No, what I'm saying is that you always have the potential of getting that one guy
Mm.
that like wants to give you all the swing pointers in the world and technical
The
advice,
unsolicited advice,
and
the
then
backseat swinger.
yeah, the backseat swinger, and then he proceeds to like chunk the ball 4 yards, like on his own swing.
The guy who's got all the theory in the world but zero
Yeah,
application.
yeah,
Yeah. I always wonder about that sort of stuff too, because then, I mean, you can see similar things in other sports. Like there are coaches that have never done and will never do what their athletes do, but they coached them to get there.
right. Yeah, that's true.
And so, like, there's something to be said about that, about like the knowledge of something and the knowledge of application and knowing when you're seeing the right thing in someone who's capable, even if you're not. Like that's a talent in and of itself.
That is 100% a talent. That's a lot of knowledge, experience,
Mm-hmm.
usually, and just all of that applied directly into their team and players.
Well, I always find that interesting because, like, like you see that with like, I don't know, like an overweight sports coach or like a clearly like unhealthy nurse or doctor, and it's like I'm supposed
Right.
to trust your. Have you looked at yourself? I'm supposed to trust you on health advice, but like just because they are not applying it or subscribing to their own advice doesn't mean their advice is bad, I guess,
I don't know, man. Like I've heard stories about med school and how crazy applied that you have to be, and like it's easy to like
I'm
kind
sure
of
it's
get
easy
kicked
to let
out of it
yourself
too.
go.
Yeah. But
Where do you find the time, dude?
it kind of goes into that expression, like what do you call a doctor that graduated at the bottom of his class? A doctor, right? But like yeah, just listening to a couple of MDs like talk about the schooling process, like it's grueling. Like if they had to if they had to do high school or pre-med or their actual med school again, like which one would they pick? And they all picked high school. Like
Oh, I believe it, dude. Well, that's what I was saying. Like, where do you find the time? Like, I mean, most of them are working like, 14, 16-hour shifts trying to like squeeze in a couple of cat naps and then right back at it.
yeah.
Especially if they're working like an ER or something like that. And obviously it'll depend where, but like imagine being in like a 20-something-year-old ER resident in like Chicago or like LA or like or like New York City, like Brooklyn or
Yeah.
some shit.
It's
Like
almost
just the
like it
amount of
can't be
shit that you're
phased
probably.
by much kind of those
Well, that,
people.
but like just imagine how like there's probably next to no downtime. Like when are you ever not go go go? just because of the population alone. Not even necessarily saying like, oh, it's going to be all gunshot victims or anything like that. I'm just thinking city centers, like population wise, like even if it's all a bunch of cardiac arrest, or I tripped and knocked my 2 front teeth out, or like whatever the case may be. Just the fact that just the sheer numbers, it's got to be crazy,
Yeah. So my one of my grandmas was an ER nurse for a while, and
respect to her,
she
man.
was such a workaholic too. She had just a different mentality.
I think they're adrenaline junkies to an extent.
Put in work, because she also used to work at a prison. She was a prison nurse, so she would do 12-hour shifts at the ER or at the hospital, and then would go on to do another 12-hour shift at the prison. So she was doing like double shifts, which I don't know if that's crazy. I don't know if you're even supposed to do that, but there were definitely times I remember her talking about doing that.
That sounds like and I don't mean this as like any negative or whatever, but that just sounds like a manifestation of like an adrenaline junkie, but just like in a different form. Like instead of like, going 120 on a motorcycle with no helmet on the highway at 2 a.m. or whatever, she's working a 12-hour stint in the ER where it's just go, 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 crazy shit happening. And then 12-hour stint at a prison, which is probably potentially similar, like that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that kind of seems like that kind of workaholic, and like the environment she's choosing to put herself in, that kind of seems like she had like an adrenaline fix that or like an adrenaline itch that scratched for her,
Yeah, maybe.
Well, you probably have to have adrenaline to go 24 hours doing all that shit. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, in my mind, it's just insane.
No, yeah, I would not. No, thank you, but thank you, Grandma. Like, no, thank you, but thank you.
Yeah, she's an amazing cook too. I mean, she'd come home and do all that and the whole 9 yards.
Dude, so I mean this in like the nicest of ways too, like with zero like malice or negativity, but like people like that, I am supremely envious of. Like I wish I had that kind of energy store where it was just like whatever needed to get done, I just like I could find the energy to do it. And it's like a 12-hour shift and then another 12-hour shift and then chefing it up for however long that takes and still finding time to be like with the family. Like I've met troops that are like that are like going to school and then running like a streaming channel that they're gaming on, and then they also do like X, Y, and Z extracurricular activities. They're part of like the Sergeants Association. They're in the what is it, like the Rising Six or whatever, and like what I mean, like they're in like all these different programs and doing all this stuff, and I'm like, where do you find the time? And they're still getting like promote nows and all this shit, and it's like you deserve it 100%, but like I don't know where you find the time, energy, and focus to do all the things that you're doing. Like that's insane.
Unfortunately, and not in all cases by any means, but there's a lot of them where that runs into primary duties, and they are ignoring.
No, I'm speaking particularly with the guy I had in mind doesn't have that problem.
It's like I've got this volunteer work, and we're talking like maybe it's on the calendar or something. Like I've got this volunteer work, I've got this appointment, and then I'm volunteering here, and it's like, bro, you haven't hardly learned how to master your craft, like by any means. You might have like 5% efficiency on it, like if I told you to go out there and do a 180 day on a missile, you'd have no idea where to start, but you're volunteering, 3-4 days a week. So yeah, they're gonna, in the eyes of what's on paper, they're probably gonna get that statement and a whole lot of love for it. But man, it happens all so much where the primary duties are just not there.
No, yes, you're correct, 100%. I'm with you. The guy I was thinking, I had a particular troop in mind, and he was just like hot shit all the time, and I'm just like, how? And he was like jacked, like, you know what I mean? Like he was like, he had a great gym routine and everything. He was like the epitome of like just the guy who checked all the boxes of like taking life by the horns. And I was like, you son, like all the power to you, brother. Pat on the back, but like, can you spare a little for a motherfucker? Come on. Like, how? What's your secret? Give me the juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. I feel bad too because we had those technical difficulties during a really uh funny story about the accent stuff, and I know we got there like talking about gaming and whatnot, but we had been talking beforehand about, and I don't want us to not touch on this story because I know that we wanted to bring it up, but we had been talking about Austria, and that I mean I think that was kind of all right. So Eric and I have gone on a couple ski trips while we were out there in Europe, but I think the one I'm referring to when we went, I believe, is when we went to the glacier. I think that was my first ski trip when I was out there, and like really early on to me getting to know you and your wife.
Yeah. So was that in Stubai or
Yeah, the glacier. Yeah,
it was the glacier? Okay. Because I know we had gone to Nosfeld together, right?
correct. Yep.
But that was that the time that we went by ourselves?
Yeah, that was what we talked about earlier when we met the Czech people that were running that lodge or whatever.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
dude, so cool. For anybody that's ever been to Nosfeld and like a particular time of the year, they have the University of Snow, which is
Oh,
such a cool experience. They have basically what you think about like a spring break for us. You have like all these like college age to middle age people that come from all the surrounding countries. So you might have like some French, Italian, German, like just all over the place, and they'll come to the University of Snow, and it's like almost kind of like a huge party at the bottom of the slopes. And they'll be passing out shot vouchers to go to the pubs later and get like a free shot. I even saw there was a big ass blob like in the middle of all the cabins and stuff, and people were jumping off and like sending them flying
oh, the
into a big snow
inflatable thing.
drift. Yeah, like the big blob, like people were getting launched into the snow drift. Just
That's
wild, man.
awesome.
Like, yeah, but yeah, that's such a cool experience. But
Yeah,
Stubai was really fun too. But I
yeah. We
remember,
went. I don't think we went during that because I didn't see any of that.
no, I think that's pretty Nosfeld specific. It was the University
Oh,
of
okay,
Snow. That's
okay.
like kind of like where they have it at.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I didn't realize you were referring to Nosfeld for that. My apologies.
Yeah, but from what I remember at Stubai had they had really good slopes, and if I'm remembering the place right, it was kind of like really like good lanes,
Mm-hmm.
powdery at the first beginning part of the day, and then the sun would come down and it would get like really
It
icy.
got
The
very
slopes
icy.
would get
Yes.
super icy. Yeah,
Yeah, it was super easy to like catch a bad
yeah.
edge.
You're like
And
carving, and you're like,
yeah. No, 100%. And then I also chose to snowboard. So I've been skiing since I was 2 because of my grandparents' snow cabin, and I decided like, oh, whatever, I'll try snowboard. I've done it like a dozen times or half dozen times. I don't know exactly. I don't really keep track, but I think I've decided now like I'm just too old. If I'm gonna go, I'm just gonna ski because it's the only way I'm gonna get the most out of my time and money and like really enjoy myself. Because I don't hate snowboarding, I just can't get good at it fast enough with the limited amount of times that I end up going to ski or snowboard that it's like it doesn't become worth it really. Like I just end up banging myself up unnecessarily.
yeah, dude. And I had gone maybe not even a handful of times before we had gone there, so I learned when I was stationed there in Italy.
Oh,
Nosfeld
okay.
went with the wife and a couple of work buddies, and she basically had taught me. We went to Nosfeld, the University of Snow, when it was happening, and
Nice.
that's why I learned. So like I have never snowboarded, like learned how to do it like right in the Alps.
That's awesome.
Like yeah, when you turn around and think about it, you're like, man, that's lucky, you know. Like,
Well, that was like my dive experience. I got to like my open scuba diving, open water diving certification. I did that out in Croatia. And like thinking back on that is like that's pretty cool. I learned to start diving in a pool in Italy, and then my like certification dive was out in Croatia, like looking at octopus and shit.
that would
Pretty
be
neat.
cool.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, Dubai was great. And I don't know what was going on. And that's why I was saying, like, I don't think it was the University of Snow, which thank you for clarifying that's at Nosfeld specifically. But there was definitely it. At least I got the vibe that like something was going on, and it could have just been, you know, people feeling festive because it was close to the holidays. or something like that. But like when we were down at the base of the mountain and like kind of wrapping up for the day, but before heading back to the spot we had rented, and we were like hitting up the ski lodge for maybe a couple drinks and some food. I remember they were just blasting like Austrian folk music, and it was all brightly lit, and there was just lights everywhere and banners and stuff, and it was like it was a happening festive time in there.
Yeah, it was so fun, and the best part is getting, once you get down to the bottom of the slope, you've been doing all day is either the glühwein or those fresh beers from the tap, and then even the Hungarian goulash, the stew.
Oh, dude,
Oh
goulash.
my gosh.
So
Dude, I have
good.
never had a stew like that since. Like that is just the best stuff. Like they make this Hungarian goulash, which is like a stew. It's got beef and some veggies. There's a Hungarian paprika that probably not a lot of people have had or even have in the pantry, but definitely heavy on that. And then it goes over like some mashed potatoes
Oh,
sometimes.
nice. Yeah, the one that I remember having that was really good was actually after an Oktoberfest trip, and we'll well, you know what? We should maybe we'll save that story. But let's just say the goulash was like I think they made it with deer, and it was made over like
Oh,
these types of I don't know how to describe it. It was like a noodle, but I want to say that it might have been made out of potato, but it wasn't gnocchi. It was actually like a noodle kind of thing, but they were small and like I'll have to look it up, but it was damn good. It was very, very good. But yeah, they were going crazy with like whatever festivities, and it sticks out in my head because, well, for two reasons. I found that cup out there that I still have. I'll have to show it off sometime. The cup that I found. That'll be a
was it
little
like a local
callback.
beer?
Yeah, it was
The cup was a local beer
Franziskaner.
from there. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Franziskaner Wit beer or wheat beer. It's a wheat beer. It's got like a German monk on it, like holding a mug or whatever. Um, that stuff that was actually probably my go-to beer when I was out there too. That stuff was so good on tap. It doesn't taste the same out of a bottle here. All
Yeah,
those,
I remember when people would travel up to Germany for work or even for leisure, people would like hand them money and be like, "Hey, can you bring some of that beer back?" And they would just bring
nice.
like crates of it,
Heck
Just it
yeah,
was such a
yeah. I
good
mean, why
beer.
not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so yeah, I found that glass, and then they had that German folk song going, and because we were in Austria, I started like doing the like an Arnold impersonation.
Yeah, I remember which one you were talking about. So it was like and I don't even know if it's German folk because I've heard it so many times, but like it sounded really like folk music the way that they did it over there. And
Yeah.
it was the na 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 na.
Oh yeah. Because
Yeah.
because
And then you had been
um
doing Arnold all day, and you and your like lyricist, genius mentality, like just wrote some because we were literally discussing like what things Arnold would like and would dislike, if you had the chance to ask him, and it was like, "What's your favorite ice cream, Arnold?" And he's like, "Haagen-Dazs."
yeah, that's right. That's what it was. And then
Yeah,
that song came on.
yeah, and you just did it like on the spot, like just wrote like Arnold's version of that folk song.
It was like, yeah, it was like, I went to Haagen-Dazs, give me the butter pecan, don't even think about the fucking Ben and Jerry's.
Dude, I
And you gotta
remember.
like bob your head with it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like, it
I
doesn't.
remember. Gosh, man, like we had to have been laughing for like 30 minutes after that.
It's just the add-on. I'm like, don't even think about the fucking Ben and Jerry's. Like,
Yeah.
don't you give me that bullshit with the Haagen-Dazs. Now, Maria, where's my ice cream?
Oh,
uh,
love it, man.
I love it, man.
Wish we
Well,
could make our way back over there.
I know, I know. I
We
mean,
s-
we do have a friend
friends.
that's.
We have friends over there.
I was gonna say we got a buddy.
Like,
He just went to Oktoberfest too.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's much closer now.
Yeah, like literally next door, basically.
Dude, Oktoberfest, man. That's one that, like, I get you could go to twice, but that's one that I was like, I went to and I'm like, I'm all right with if that's the only time I ever go. Because, like, don't get me wrong, it was like one of the most fun and eventful experiences that you can have, but like, there is a lot that goes into that trip, and it's a long day because we took a bus out there early in the morning, probably arrived to Munich at like 6 in the morning or something like
Oh,
that.
did you not do the overnight one where you meet at the bar at night and they drive you overnight and you get there in the morning?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I think
Yeah,
they have you
so
meet at the
yeah,
bar at
you
like
on the
midnight or
bus.
something, or
Yeah, you get on the
yeah,
bus, and then you're probably getting to Munich somewhere around like 6 in the morning,
yeah, and then you get in
maybe
line,
even earlier than that.
and
Could
then
be
you wait
wrong,
in line at the tent. You
but
try to find
yeah.
a tent.
So for people that don't have never been to Munich for Oktoberfest, you wait in line for these places to open, and they're all tents. There's different beer vendors that have their own, like, so you got like Polliner, Hofbrau.
Hofbrau.
They all have their own tents, have a bunch of tables in them. And if you don't get a table, you're not getting served beer. So you've seen all the iconic pictures of, you know, them carrying around 10 beers
The beer maiden.
yeah, the beer maidens carrying around 10 beers in their hands.
They're dude,
But
the
so
forearm
basically, if you don't
strength and
get
the
to one
grip
of those
strength.
tables, you're they're not able to serve you a beer. So you get there super early in the morning. You're standing in line for these tents to open, and these lines are insane. Like, so it's around 6:30. You're waiting, you know.
I mean, it's hundreds of people. Like, well, there's
Yeah,
thousands
it's
of people at this event, so there's like hundreds of
yeah.
people in every line.
So you are just
Thousands, maybe.
mashed up against people, waiting for this tent to open, and then 30 minutes rolls by. They open the tent, and they are. It reminds me, like, speaking of Arnold, it reminds me of like when they're all like going like Black Friday shopping for Turbo Man,
Oh, dude,
and
jingle
they're
all the
like
way.
just blasting like their way in.
Oh,
But anyway,
need my car.
yeah, you are just getting smashed, and they're just everybody's like trying to bum rush in there to grab a table. And
Get away from my table.
I remember Nisreen even saying that, like, because she's kind of smaller, like she got like pressed up like so hard against two people that like her feet were off the ground, and they were just like pushing. They were just like pushing her through all the way through the door.
Just got her toes fucking dragging.
So you have that. You finally get in there. Hopefully, either yourself or like one of the friends in your group gets one of the tables. You get it, and then you find out that they got it. You go to the table. Now we're talking. It's like 7 o'clock, 7:02, depending on how long it took you to sit down. They
You're
don't
about to
start
be
serving.
fucking day drinking,
They
dog.
don't start serving those beers until 8. So you're like, after all that, super tired. Now you're waiting for them to even start serving the beers. And when they do start serving the beers, they kind of, you know, make their way around. It could be a solid another 20, 30 minutes before you actually get the beer that you ordered. But I will tell you, is it really good beer? Yes. But is that the best tasting beer after you went through that experience? Once it gets to your table? Holy, man.
Oh, and also there is no, well, yeah. If you want your beer to taste good the whole way through, there's next to no pacing, and they only dish them a liter at a time.
Yeah. Full liter shines.
Yeah. You're getting a liter of adult cola.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's another cool thing that that's kind of like traditional there, where so if you've got the cojones, you can stand up on the table, and everybody in these tents are circus tents, by the way. They're huge. There's a lot of people in them.
Yes.
You can stand up on the table and chug your beer from start to finish. And if you can do it in one chug, you're going to get the applause of your life. It's going to roar in there. But if you stop, or if you can't make it all the way through your chug, man, they're going to boo the shit out of you.
Yup.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you get
it's like what, every like 2 minutes you'd see somebody stand up on their table and chug it.
And you hear the crowd too, they're like, oh, and then you're like, oh, 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 oh. And then if they fail, it's like, oh, boo. Like they're like getting, and it's like dripping off of them, like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's but if you succeed, you better hopefully you taped it to your thigh or something because you're gonna get a chub with all that crowd
You're
love.
you're like a legend for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, seriously. I got a few friends that I think I don't know, man. If they could work their gullet the same way they can around with a mug as they can like shotgunning a beer, I got a couple friends that I think might be up to the task. I don't know.
I feel like at that time I probably could have pulled it off. Like, but
I've never been good at
there
chugging
was the
like that.
risk reward, and I was like, I waited so long for this beer, I want to enjoy it. So there's like the reward factor. And
Well,
then
you
like
also
the
got to be
risk
like
was
the
like,
right
oh,
amount
I
of
also don't
buzz.
want to be the asshole for the next like 15 minutes until somebody else gets up and fails, Like,
I feel like for me, it's like got to be the right amount of buzz to feel like, I mean, like one, to not give a shit what the result is, but two, to feel like I'm like loosened up and like in a drinking mood enough to be able to like attempt that feat, if that makes any sense. The fucked up thing is, I know that I could do it if I had a beer bong because I made the mistake once when I was like 20 of beer bong and 240s back to back, and I succeeded.
oh,
But then I crawled around on my hands and knees for like the next 10 minutes, not trying not to throw up on my friend's carpet.
dude, 40s, man.
Yeah, and that was back to back, dude. But I don't know. Like, you know what? How many ounces are in a liter, though? I wonder.
That's a good question.
Maybe that wasn't even as much. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like it's got. Well, is it what? Is it 128 ounces to a gallon? Am I talking smack? I don't know. I'm looking it up right now. Liter in ounces. Oh yeah, dude. 1 liter. Oh, dude. 140 is more than that. It's 33.8 fluid ounces. So I basically beer bonged like.
That doesn't sound right.
Huh? If I beer, yeah,
right.
80 ounces is almost 2.5 liters. 80 fluid ounces is almost 2.5 liters. That's crazy. I beer bonged almost 2.5 liters. That's such a horrible choice. Do not do what I did.
Huh.
My stomach hated me.
30, yeah, so 33.8 ounces. That doesn't seem like that much until it's in a stein in front of you.
Yeah, or until you're sipping it out of a cup. Oh, that's another thing I wish they would adopt. I hated that about Italy. We should end on this. We should end on a little advice for the American market. Maybe a way you can get people back into the theater. Because we were talking about this the other night about like how going to the movies was like a staple of my childhood and whatnot, but like you don't really do it anymore because you got to take out a small loan to treat anybody to a film, and half the time they're only like, an hour and 20 minutes
Mediocre
these days.
films
And
at best, too.
Say what?
I said mediocre films at best, too.
Right, exactly. And it's like an hour and 20 minutes at most. But like I remember being able to see what was it we went to see, dude? We went and saw The Force Awakens, I think, right? And like when that first came out, I want to say we went and saw that in the theater. Oh no, or maybe it was Rogue One. Something. We saw some Star Wars movie, but I remember I was at that point, and because of that movie, it really sold me on it. And I hated it at first, but Italy, and maybe most of Europe, but at least Italy, they do intermissions.
Yeah.
And I remember being so annoyed, but like they do it so well because it's like halfway through, there's an intermission, you get like a little 10-minute break, you can go take a piss, they bring in a mobile snack stand, you can go out and get your drink refilled because it's like free refills, you can buy some snacks if you want, whatever. Sit back down, get ready, and then it's rewound like, 10, 20, 30 seconds. So it's not like starting up exactly where you stop, and it's not starting up accidentally a little too late. It's actually starting back a little, so you're like, oh, right, that's what was just happening, and then you continue.
Dude, every film is thought out, too. Like, you can tell, like, because I've seen a couple movies over there, but they're not just, like, pausing. The movie doesn't abruptly stop at a random moment. Like, you can tell that every one of them's thought out as to where it should, like, have the intermission.
Yeah, they find a sensible, like, lull in the momentum where it's not like it doesn't take you out of everything if they pause it right there.
Yeah, it's not like in the middle of somebody like their line,
It's not like someone throwing a punch and then you come back to like see the connect.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, oh shit.
Yeah, but that is a cool thing. Yeah. I wish, I
Yeah.
wish we could have that, or at least have the option for places that did that.
Right.
Because I
That would
feel
be
like
nice.
it wouldn't be popular enough for that to be like everywhere. But
Now I guess like roundabouts, right?
I mean, if you can have like one, one screen that's showing like this XD, freaking like supposedly the best sound quality and the best picture quality, and then like there's a regular one, and then there's 3D screens all for like the same movie. Like, pretty sure one of those could have intermission. You're right, that would make sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And just advertise it ahead of time, I guess, so people aren't like thrown off by it if they didn't want it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be a good idea. I miss that. That is something I miss. But I haven't been to the movies. I think the last movie I went and saw was the Deadpool Wolverine movie that came out, and it's like, and that had been the first time I've been to the movies in a while as well.
I did go to see that. That is one that I was like, I wouldn't mind going to see. But the last one that I saw, I think, was Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Okay, yeah. So I didn't get out to see that one. I still have to see that movie. Before that, it was a free ticket I got for being like an Amazon Prime member or something. There was some movie that was coming out that they were giving like advanced screening tickets to people, so I got to take advantage of that. Like me and my buddy Nathan went and checked that out. But yeah, otherwise, I don't know, man. I used to love it, but it's just like, oh, now I got to get ready. I got to go out. It's going to cost so much. This movie might not even be worth it. I mean, half the time you watch a trailer and you can practically figure out the whole damn movie. And 9 times out of 10 these days, they're showing you all the best parts of the movie in the fucking trailer. It's like, what am I even going to the movie
True.
for?
Dude, I won't be surprised if they start like the Hulu greed and like start doing like ads in the middle of all the movies in the theaters.
Dude,
Dude, that would be so
I'm worried
annoying.
about.
Oh, that movie
I'm
had
worried about
fucking
everything.
heaps of ads in it.
Yeah, it's fucking too many ads. I feel like I'm waiting. I'm nervous about the whole like essentially everything becoming like a rent to own thing, or like everything becoming like a streaming service, like games you don't even own anymore, but you're just paying to like play the game on a constant access thing. Like I want to say that like EA has already been talking about a streaming model for gaming and whatnot. It's like, I mean, this is a whole different rabbit hole we can go down, but this is something that would be worth talking about. You know, the whole streaming service kind of thing, like where that could possibly go poorly, and then also that to me that ties into the whole what is it called, right to repair, which was a thing that was argued about. I don't know if you heard about this at all, but like, you buy a fridge and now you own that fridge, but like companies are arguing that you don't have the right to like take that fridge apart and fix it and repair it however you see fit, because it's their item. And it's like, yeah, but I bought it, like it's mine now.
It's like the patent or trademark on it.
It's weird, yeah,
If
dude. It's
you
a
were
weird like
altering
gray
it kind of
area.
thing, and it like technically would make it. Would it make
Well,
it?
I want to say it started with like some Apple stuff, because it was like Apple has a lot of like proprietary components. So it was like one of those things, like, to what extent does proprietary stuff make sense? To what extent is it like not fair to the consumer? And then they went down the whole rabbit hole of like, well, should consumers even be tinkering with these items that we've sold them? Because there are items that we designed this way and sold them to them like that, so they shouldn't really be messing with our design.
Yeah,
Blah, blah, blah,
but
blah.
then on the flip side of the argument, it is a bunch of material that I paid money for. Like,
Correct.
now all these materials are mine to do with as I wish.
I 100% agree. That I am also of the mindset that like I don't necessarily agree unless what you're doing is potentially harmful to those around you, like neighbors and whatnot. I don't think you should necessarily be having to like ask the city if you can do certain things with your property. Like, you should be able to go to them and get schematics and be like, hey, I want to know where everything on my property is, so I don't accidentally hit a gas line or an electrical line or a sewage line or whatever. And if I do, that's my own fucking problem. Like, I put this mess on myself. But why do I have to ask you if I can like build a shed in my backyard or some shit? Like, that doesn't seem that is this not my property? I know I'm still like paying a mortgage to own it, but for all intents and purposes, it is mine until I stop making payments on it. So like, why can't I do with it as I see fit? Like,
Yeah. 100%.
but also, I might be crazy for thinking that. I kid. I think most people honestly subscribe to a similar mindset. It's just like, where can you say that? I just did. Anyway, we'll end it there then. I think that's a good way to end it, with me saying some potentially out of pocket shit to some people. But come on, guys, I just believe in freedom of the individual. You know, that's all I'm saying.
For sure.
You got
For
any?
sure. I mean, you got to let the mindset go freely without being too scared. I mean, there's moments that you got to respect other people's mindsets, but at the same time,
Oh, for sure,
voice yours.
No, 100%. I infinite percent subscribe to the mentality of like being let be. You know, like if I can be me and be left alone, then I got no problem letting you be you and leaving you alone, as long as we can agree on that. You know what I mean? And as long as you're not like fucking over other people in the process, that I would take issue with. But you know,
all right, yeah. Don't steal
That's
our
just
song,
rules.
our Haagen-Dazs song either.
yeah, and don't steal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, then we'll have problems because it is our haagen-dazs. It was never fucking yours. Don't even think about the stealing our sanga.
You made like Austrian Arnold Italian.
Yeah. My favorite fucking Australian.
About the stealing of sanga.
Yeah. I don't steal a song. It was our song. It's our Haagen-Dazs, so don't fucking take it. And on that, cheers to anyone who stumbled across this video. Thanks for coming back. If you saw the first one, if you haven't, check that out. Please like, subscribe, share. It always helps. And comments, feedback, always
throw
welcome.
some comments in there. Give us some topics. Definitely feedback. Yeah. We need feedback.
Interview suggestions. You know, if you got a friend that you think would be good for an interview that's in an interesting field or knows some cool stuff or whatever, you know, we're always willing to talk to people. Just make sure that they it's not going to be like herding cats, if you know that they tend to be that kind of person.
Yeah.
I kid.
And stories too. If you have a story
sure.
that you would like to be heard and don't want to tell it yourself, please send us that.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a great thing. You know, at some point we're going to be sharing the email and everything, or it might even be in the description of the first video. But either way, yeah, just like people do on Reddit and whatnot, channels like Let's Read and such, if you've got stories that you think would be fun for people to hear, but you're a little shy to say it yourself, like send us that anonymous narrative, and we'd be happy to put it out in the world for you and see how everybody reacts. Heck yeah. All right. Well, from Kyle, cheers. Thank you for checking us out. Come back to Shots N Shanks. We'll be back next week.
Peace, peep-ho.
Peep-ho. I love it. All right. See you, everybody.